Hi, Mike.
Hello, Russell.
How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
I wonder if I have you been on waiting very long?
Just a few minutes.
A few minutes, yeah.
Have you just got online yourself?
I think I started up the wrong meeting somehow.
Yeah, I just tried from the link and it didn't come up, but now I went through the front office as such. We're okay.
Sorry, I just emailed you, Mark, that I couldn't get on.
Oh, I got a very strange email from you, Julia, that just said Alibaba.
Hi there.
Yeah, you said you wanted a stock tip.
Hold on.
Thanks for clarifying that. Hello, Bob.
Oh, hi there. I was wrestling with Zoom software, trying to get on tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I started it up and no one was there by 8:02. I got a little suspicious, so I ended it and started it again.
Oh.
And something was wrong.
Some of us are wandering around in the ether.
Yeah.
To find you.
And I couldn't get on, so I just went through Zoom and put the meeting ID on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Rather than the link didn't seem to work.
How strange. I wonder if we'll lose people because of that.
Should we get a link every week from you?
It's the same number. It's the same link. So it hasn't changed. Leslie will not be joining us tonight. She has a presentation she's preparing for, so she was up until 3 a.m. working on her PowerPoint.
I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one.
Those darn day jobs.
Hello, Darcy. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It's nice having feel like you're part of a team instead of out there on your own.
Yeah. Well, you've been to the front lines.
Yeah, we're rooting you on.
Yeah. It was a learning experience, chock full of learning experiences.
Oh, good. We're dying to know what you learned. Let's wait a couple of more minutes until other participants may join us.
So do you think it was worth it, Darcy?
Today, I wouldn't do the show again, but there may be some stuff in the pipeline, so ask me again in 6 months.
Okay.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hello, Octavio.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Russ, what time is it where you're at?
1:10 in the morning.
Okay.
Oh.
Did you just get up or did you stay up?
Stay up, yeah. I've just got off a meeting with my brother-in-law who's in Switzerland, so it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I go to bed about 5 a.m. every night.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Just a night owl.
Oh.
It's nice to not have a telephone going off, and you can work in silence.
Yeah, there's less distraction late at night.
Yeah.
So you sleep all morning then?
About 7 hours, and then I start in again. I work at home, so I'm working all the time, it seems.
Don't you get out and walk around the block?
Yeah, I jump up every couple hours and do a push-up or two to pretend I'm exercising, and then get back to the computer.
Octavio, I enjoyed your comments on last week's meeting.
Yeah, you raised a lot of interesting points, Octavio, and I want to go there with you and explore that a little bit more. Maybe we should get going, and if anybody else joins us, then so be it. So I thought we would start off with Darcy's report from Dwell. Said you've learned a lot, and whose phone is that?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'll do this.
I thought you didn't have a phone. Oh, no, it just doesn't ring at night. I got it.
I just,
Tell her you'll call back.
there you go. I'll have to unplug that thing.
So first of all, Darcy, I wanted to ask you, where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Clearwater, Florida.
And did you always want to be an artist?
No, I didn't see being an artist in the realm of anything that was remotely practical until I was like early 30s. I did some drawing as a kid, but never really considered myself to be a creative type until I picked it up later in life.
Well, the real question on my mind is, where did you learn to weld or use a cutting torch?
I was living in Dallas, and my sister passed away really suddenly, and a friend of mine took me to a little not-for-profit art school down there called the Creative Arts Center. And my first class was a clay sculpture class, a figurative clay sculpture class, and I was so horrible at it. And then I tried, I think I did some painting and maybe one other drawing class, and I was terrible at it. And I saw the metalworking stuff, and I took a class, and the second day of class, I made my first sculpture out of pipe, and just have pursued that ever since.
The second day of class, they handed you a cutting torch?
Yes.
Wow.
And we were just doing very rudimentary exercises on how to learn to use the equipment, and one of those was cutting on a piece of pipe. And I just envisioned spirals. And literally the third day of class, I made like a 3-foot spiral. So, it's just kind of called to me ever since.
How many years ago was that?
13.
Wow. So you found the niche of home furnishings and you decided to go to Dwell. What was the reasoning that led up to that? How did you decide to approach that?
For me, Dwell was launched, I don't know, probably 10, 12 years ago, and I was one of the initial subscribers. I always liked contemporary design. And most of that magazine seems to be around somewhat green design, but maybe alternative uses of materials. They'll build a house out of like chipboard and lacquer it and call it good. So they're using kind of alternative materials. And in the back, they've got kind of a little maker section where people can advertise. It's still quite expensive. It's like $5,000 an issue. But for more handcrafted things. And so I thought that sort of sentiment would translate at this show, that people would be interested in contemporary looks, alternative materials, and I thought that they would be more open to my stuff. So I hadn't been able to get a lot of traction with LA galleries, so I thought that might be kind of a back door as a way in there.
And it sounds like that's not what you encountered when you got there.
Yeah, so my day job is in the kitchen and bath industry, and so in the more traditional kitchen and bath industry, there's a big show called KBIS. It's held in Las Vegas or Chicago usually. It's a massive trade show. And this, for me, felt like a smaller version of that. There was a lot of, it was clearly for design enthusiasts, but there was a lot of corporate manufacturers of cabinetry and appliances and flooring and lighting and mostly home products. And on a much smaller scale than what happens at our industry show. Although sales were certainly permitted on the display floor, most companies seem to be interested in sort of driving consumers to a showroom or to a dealer where they could actually make purchases.
I see.
So there was some selling going on, but not a lot. And I'll just, if you, I woke up last night around 2 a.m. and kind of wrote down a bunch of things, and we can continue the question and answer, or I can kind of
I want to hear what you have
work with some of that.
Decided is important.
So, in addition to the sort of more corporate feel, there was also probably 30 to 50 what I'll call independent makers like myself, and everything from jewelry and wallets to clocks to unique lighting, and some of them were small businesses, and some of them, like me, were artists, one-man shops. And even those people, what I saw was selling at the show was more impulse purchases in the area of $100 to $200. Wallets, necklaces, crafty stuff that was nice and that was well done, but that's what I saw was actually being sold mostly at the show. Even the other Boise artist who shared his experience with me about last year, and that's one of the reasons I went, he works on paper, and it's very unique work. It's very different than mine and very different from my taste generally, but I liked it. And his price point was probably in the $300 to $500 range. And he said his sales were off compared to the year before. In terms of some sort of background and logistics, the lead up to the show, for me, I'm an artist. I like a good deadline. It makes me really get in the shop and make work. And I made 5 extremely strong pieces in about the 6 weeks leading up to the show. They were a little bigger than I usually go. I experimented with some new finishes, and was really pleased with that part of the execution.
And you shipped those to the show?
I loaded them up in my truck and drove down to the show 15 hours each way.
Wow.
It was a real grind.
Wow.
So prior to the show, the other thing that was new for me was I did 8 rounds of postcards every 5 days to about 30 galleries that I targeted in LA. And they were well photographed postcards, and I said, dwell on design. I'm at this booth. Sometimes there was some good verbiage on there, sometimes not so much, but they clearly had an idea that I was going to be there.
Yeah.
And not a single one of them showed up, which was I have to say that was fairly disappointing. The show, the booth rental was $2,500 plus the transport down there, plus hotel rooms, plus the I'm a big fan of labor unions, but these teachers moved my stuff maybe 500 feet, and I really moved it. They kind of helped a little bit. Cost me $500, and then rent a table and a chair for 3 days cost me another $500. So,
must have been some chair.
Yeah, they've kind of cornered the market, and I've kind of felt like they were sticking it to me a little bit. Let's see, on some positive stuff, so there were no sales, but I really feel like my work was very well received. If you've ever been to a trade show, at some point it's like the baton death march. You're just kind of walking, and, salespeople are trying to engage you, and you're sort of not really wanting to be engaged with. And very consistently, when people would see my work, and I was cognizant of of touching it and keeping it moving. When people would be walking by, they would stop and take notice. You could see their facial expression change. And so that was fun, and people were very effusive about the work.
Were you working alone?
So I was working the booth. The booth is 10 by 5. So I started every day by myself. And then I had a gal relieve me for about 2 hours so I could go get something to eat and look around at the rest of the show. It was one of those things where it's great to ask for help. It's not necessarily how I usually operate, but there's a gal who runs kind of the day-to-day operations in the gallery I show at here in Boise. And she happened to be from LA. And so I asked her if she knew somebody, and it turns out she had a sister down there. So I emailed her sister, and her sister turned out to be just drop-dead gorgeous and really down to earth, just a complete knockout.
Wow.
So when I would leave and then come back, there'd be like 15 guys.
You should have stayed away.
It was pretty funny. And she was clearly pulling for me. And after the show on Sunday, she lives with her family up in the mountains outside of, I guess it's outside of Malibu. And so they had me up, and we had pizza and a couple of drinks. And so it was a nice way to end the show. If I had to go spend a night in a hotel after not selling anything and being kind of disappointed, it would have been tough.
Yeah.
But mostly it was me, and I was, I'm a sales guy, so I was engaging with people and kind of telling my story and telling them about the work. And I really enjoyed that, Some of the comments that people made was that I found refreshing were that the work makes me smile. And then a little kid, who was 6, asked me why the work was so wiggly. And I thought that was pretty funny and childlike. So I had about 30 in-depth conversations with designers. And a lot of them felt like, I may not have an opportunity now, but I really like the work. I really like the way it moves. And let me take some cards. And, there may be something in the future that comes out of that. One of the areas where I hadn't really practiced or really thought through how I was going to address it, there was a lot of questions about putting the work outside. And I had a lot of sort of qualifiers about some wind is good, too much wind is not so good, this finish will rust, this finish won't. So I don't know. I think it would have been better to have that a little more cut and dried about yes or no, or everything's powder coated. And so I don't think it really raised questions, but it may have. That's part of my presentation that could have been crisper.
Were you able to get, am I on?
Yeah.
Were you able to get their business cards, or did they just take yours?
So I have a stack of this many cards to follow up with, and then I've got a sign-in book of about probably another 25 or 30. Okay. So I wasn't able to get everybody's cards, but I was able to get, I would say, more than half.
That's a great start.
Yeah.
And so what's your plan for following up with those people
I don't have a definitive plan. I would love to talk about that in a minute. Really, since I got back, it's been about putting my life back in order and tending to some things at work. And I know I need to strike while the iron is hot, but I've just been sort of catching my breath. So I would love to get some thoughts about that. A couple more points, and then we can open it up. So one of the guys who was caddy corner to me was the president of the world's largest monumental spiral staircase company.
Oh, cool.
And so they had pictures of just some incredible stuff that they were building. But we talked, and what he said, for what it's worth, you know, it's always the next show is going to be better. But what he said was every year he goes to the Architectural Digest show in New York City. And apparently they have a section in there that's dedicated to makers like us. And he said that show is unbelievably profitable for them. He said he may get 3 jobs out of this Dwell show. He said he regularly sells between $5 and $10 million in business at that show.
Wow.
He says the level of affluence is unbelievable, and that he was the one who really spoke to how much designers direct the purchases at that level. That they really have a tremendous amount of influence with their clients. So I don't know. I heard that a couple of times, and so I just wanted to share how that seemed to be a real driver for these folks. And of course, you know, for me being out west, getting my stuff to New York City, that's a whole nother level of commitment.
Yeah.
And I guess that shows in March of every year, and I actually thought about it after I had signed up for the Dwell show. So we'll see. That's kind of something that's floating around in the background.
Stephanie says we'll all go as a group.
We should go.
That's a great call. That's a great call.
You can stay with me.
Yeah, I've got an extra room.
That would be fun.
Let's see. In terms of collateral, like postcards and business cards, I have so much extra stuff. I printed way too much.
Yeah.
I think I printed about there was supposed to be 30,000 people in attendance. I think I printed 1,000 postcards and 1,000 business cards, and I probably got at least half of each one of those left. So, you know, I overshot the number on what I should have done there. But you know, in listening to you guys, I did make them general enough that I can use them for generalized marketing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're always great to have.
So interesting thing that came back, 2 things that happened was after the show, I've gotten emails from basically companies that I would say make knickknacks. They make small sculptures and small sort of tabletop accessories, things that they try and retail in the $100 to $200 range. And, you know, and then what they said was, you come up with some designs, we'll handle the manufacturing cost. If we sell it, we'll pay you a 4% royalty.
Oh.
So I don't know, you know, does that cheapen my other work or does that lend some credibility if I put my name on products like that? You know, I wasn't sure if you guys had any thoughts about that kind of stuff.
My initial reaction is it sounds like another revenue stream possibility,
Mm-hmm.
and that there wouldn't be very much crossover in those markets, and that one could potentially complement the other depending on how it's done. Other thoughts?
How much royalty did you say they will give you?
I'm sorry?
How much was the royalty again?
4%.
4?
4.
I would talk to somebody who has gone down that path and find out if it's worth it. Do you know what I'm saying? I would seek out somebody who has had a similar experience and see if it's worth it, because, you know, I don't know what are they going to price your miniatures at $100? Are they going to price them at $1,000? Or they, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is that 4% worth it to you? And I would do a lot of recon before I commit to it, I guess.
I think that makes good sense.
Yeah, I think the 4% is too low.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just to make it worth your while, perhaps you could investigate similar companies that look for artists to create things for them.
But all you're doing is supplying a design, right? You have nothing to do with manufacturing.
But then you lose control though too, and you don't want something going out there that represents you that isn't to your standard, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's that fine line of making sure, you know, if it's a magnet, that's one thing. If it's supposed to be a literal sculpture like your sculpture, you want to make sure it's very clear as to what's what, I would guess.
Well, also, I wonder if you lose the ownership of the design then.
Mm.
Good point. Yeah, all that legalese I hadn't considered.
They might be selling it under their name rather than yours.
I looked at their site, and it is under their name, but then they also give some design credits in there. So, but I think to Stephanie's point, to reach out to some of those other designers that are on the site and talk to them a little bit about their experience.
There's an artist called Cole, C-O-L, Mitchell, and she does paperwork. But if you go on her website, she uses somebody that mass produces her images on shower curtains, mugs, so on and so forth. And I looked at this resource that she used, and to me it didn't seem worth it. But she has a lot more, I mean, I don't really have followers. She has all these followers. So for her, it might be worth her while to only get, you know, a small percentage. But that's another person to look at or contact. Maybe she might help you.
That's good. That's good.
You know, if there are companies that are producing this type of item and only give you 4%, maybe you could look at creating such a product line yourself and selling it through your own marketing or website or eBay. Perhaps there's a market for a smaller sculpture that fits into your sensibility.
We have a gift shop on our website, right?
Yes, right.
Right. Let's put together some gifts.
Well, we should talk about that this summer for Christmas, because boy, wouldn't it be great for all of us to like go gangbusters as Christmas gifts for people?
Great idea.
Good idea.
Yeah. Well, Darcy, I just thank you for telling us about that experience. That's interesting. And I think the New York Architectural Digest show sounds really interesting because that magazine really, really caters to designers. More, I think, than Dwell.
Absolutely.
At least a different kind of designer, one who might be more able to buy art for people or to guide them to buy art. I would just say about all those cards you have, that you need to jump on that immediately. And I just say that because of an experience that I've had since we've been meeting. I think I may have talked at one time about visiting galleries in San Antonio when I was there. And I made some really good contacts there. I followed Paul's instructions and did what I was supposed to. And then I came home, and every day on my to-do list, it said to email them. And I waited such a long time that eventually I realized they won't know who I am. I can email them, they won't remember. And so when I was in New York last week, I visited 4 galleries that I had seen at the Dallas Art Fair. And at each one of those, when I met them at the Dallas Art Fair, I said, when I'm in New York next time, I'm going to come visit your gallery. And I did. And I reminded each one of them that I had met them in Dallas, and I had told them that. And suddenly, they were like my best friend. Wow. And I've never had anyone in a New York gallery give me the time of day. And after I walked out of those galleries, within an hour, I had received an email from one of them. And I emailed them all the next morning. And I have since heard from every one of them.
Wow.
So I think getting on it right away is the best thing you can do, because really all those designers, if they liked your work, they surely may have opportunity in the future to recommend it to somebody. And someone, I've forgotten who now, but someone in our group talked about getting something years after they had given their work to a consultant. Was that what it was, Mark?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So that sounds like a good contact, all those designers.
Well, thank you, Julia, and great story. And just to wrap it up, I had 15 hours on the way back to try and stay awake and to get home. And I would not say I was depressed. I was flat, and I made a conscious effort during that drive that I wasn't going to just beat myself up about this. And but what I did come back with was a desire to have more balance in my life. Particularly for the last 6 weeks, I had swung way out of balance, was putting way too much focus and energy on making work and on results and on outcomes. And so I'm going to be approaching my work with a little more balance, and I'd like to pursue a relationship in my life and maybe some recreation. And so we'll see. That may be a pipe dream. We as artists may not really be meant to be balanced, but that's what I came back with. So we'll see.
I would just say, even if you just wanted to take a few minutes and compose one short little email and send the same one to every one of them, like enjoyed meeting you, and just a few words.
Link to the website
on their mind to make sure they understand you're interested in them.
No, I think, Julia, that is great coaching, and I commit that I will do that in the next day or two.
All right, I'll hold you to
it. Great.
When Darcy has a pipe dream, he really has a pipe dream. But it's funny. I think it's that way for everybody whose upcoming show demands their attention and energy, and you create that unknown in your mind. And so it's not unusual that you spent 6 weeks, I think, in anticipation of it.
So I saw an interesting show I want to talk to you about that relates to what Darcy went through. It was on the Science Channel. It's called Through the Wormhole. It's with Morgan Freeman. So he has this wonderful voice and is the narrator. But the question was, ultimately, what is our purpose? We ask these abstract questions, but he asked, what is our purpose in life? And scientific investigations have shown that if you have a clearer purpose in your mind of what your purpose is in life, you're better able to overcome the obstacles, and you're better able to be more successful, and you have a better image of yourself. But it's kind of a hard thing to define as an artist. What is our purpose? Are we to bring beauty to the world, or to express ourselves? But if we look at defining this higher purpose within ourselves, we're better able to move towards those goals. So
well put.
That's my cheap wisdom for the day.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Father Bob. But Darcy, you probably have not been that productive in a long time with that deadline looming. You invented a new finish. You created 5 or 6 new pieces in 6 weeks. You clearly were running at full steam.
Thanks. And it really felt like the first half of this year has been. I had a show in February, and then I did some small stuff in that was delivered first part of May. And so, yes. And it's really been an extended period of a crazy run of productivity. So, yeah. But yeah, for me, that's what I love about having that show out there, is that it really does force me to create.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And now you have all that all those pieces for the next show. So actually you can ride that wave for a little while, which is nice.
That's good.
Yeah, less stress. So now you have that opportunity to create your balance that you're seeking and still, you know.
Nice.
Is the Architectural Digest show at the Javits Center when it's in New York?
I'm sorry?
Is the Architectural Digest show at the Javits Center?
I don't know. I don't know, Mark.
Because then it will be exponentially more expensive than going to LA. I've been to several shows there for publishing companies, and you have to walk around with a large wad of cash to get anything done.
Like bribes, you mean?
Yes, absolutely. They are bribes.
Well, if you're going to do more shows like that, you might want to look. North Carolina used to have a market for designers. You might want to look at theirs, and it'd probably be a little less expensive to go to. But I think that was, I can't remember the furniture town, not Asheville. Anyway, it's in North Carolina, but they have a big market every year.
Say, Architectural Digest is a beautiful magazine. I haven't read one in years, but are there advertisings in there for art dealers or people who represent artists? Or would it be worth contacting someone through the magazine that might have an interest in your work?
I don't know.
When I subscribe to the magazine, and usually that means flipping through it pretty quickly and looking at the pictures. And there has been a few art-specific advertisements in the last couple of issues, is my recollection. It almost looked like a PR piece on a sculptor, and a little bit of painting. So a little bit. I certainly wouldn't say it was a focus of the magazine, but there's a little bit of advertisement and space dedicated to it.
And if you can get a write-up in something like Elle Decor or House Beautiful, something like that, that would be helpful too. That's a goal of mine eventually, is to get into one of those kinds of magazines someday. But.
Oh, that's a good point. Did you have any publicity or a press release or anything for your local newspaper or about your attending the show?
Yeah, that's not really my strength at all, Mark. And so I really, I did not do a good job with that. In one of the things that when I got the disappointing results of the galleries not showing up in LA, I was wondering what I could have done differently there. So I told you I sent a lot of postcards, but
right.
Would it have been better a week before the show to actually send them an email or pick up the phone? So I don't know if I would have gotten different results, but I certainly feel like I could have done something different from what I did there.
Mm-hmm.
Say, what do you all think about putting your image on your personal card?
Oh, yes.
We all talk about making a contact with people, and it's kind of hard to remember people without a picture of them. You could sort of poke a card in front of people, and maybe they would tend to remember you better.
You mean an image of yourself?
Yeah, true.
Oh.
Realtors do it all the time.
That's right.
Look at Octavio here. Octavio looks like he's even has light coming out of his head.
No, your halo is wonderful.
You should put that on your business card. So I'm just wondering, maybe that's something that might more personalize our contacts.
I think that can go either way.
Depends on how homely you are.
Exactly.
For me, on the back of my business card, I always have an image of some current work. Mm-hmm. And because I think if I just say I'm a sculptor on the front, I don't think that that's compelling enough. But if you say flip it over, that's what I do. For me, that gives the card a lot more pop.
Mm.
What about a picture of you working in your studio or engaged in a piece of art?
I mean, I think that's a nice thought, Bob. I've never done that except for promotional things where I've shown a picture of me painting. I've always just had an image of my work on a business card. But it is interesting. I think people like to see people. And I've never thought about using a picture of me painting on a business card, but I appreciate that thought, actually.
Well, we're all artists. We can make the picture look terrific, you know.
It should be, yeah, especially.
Well, actually, Rachel, on your Indiegogo site, that was a terrific picture because you're turned sideways. The emphasis is on the painting.
Yeah.
And it brings the viewer into the experience that you're going to have or that you're having.
Yeah.
Especially if it gives it a sense of scale, then it's really beneficial, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting, Bob.
By the way, congratulations on being fully funded for that. That's a terrific achievement.
Thank you. Thank you for some of you. Thank you.
So let's move the conversation to Rachel, who brought up the topic of framing. And I'll let you explain that, Rachel. You had some experience you wanted to.
Well, Mark, I actually sent you an email just now. Forgive me, I thought it started at 8:30. I don't know what I was thinking. I just sent you an email that maybe if you posted, we could talk through.
Okay.
But,
here it is.
basically, what happens is, let's look at this. So if you look at this example I'm giving, Chateau Grand Traverse, the unframed price is $475. I would get $237, and the retail's $900. That means they're making $600 and some bucks, right?
Now what? Say that again.
Retail $900.
Oh, okay. Second one down. Yeah.
Second one. Okay.
So they have over on the subcategory F and UF, FA. So it's framed by them would be an F. UF is unframed, and FA would be framed by me. And I just find it really interesting that when you frame a work of art, you can really up the value of the sale price when it's framed. But if they frame it, they make so much more money than I do. Because they take all of it and give me $237.
I've always heard that you take the price of the frame off before you divide the amount of money that's left. Just like you do for bronze, if you, you subtract the cost of the casting of the bronze before you divide the rest of the money.
Well, that is what they do at this gallery because the unframed price is $475. So I do make that half. But if they frame it, they make everything beyond that $475.
All right.
You mean, so they're making a cut on their frame. So the frame costs them $100. They're going to charge $2. You're not going to keep that.
By me, I am the one that will make the benefit. The dilemma is that in other galleries, they don't like to do this. They just want me to give them one price and just say, we're splitting it. Just, put the price on whatever you need. Shoot, I'm losing my internet.
Yeah, we're losing your audio. Hold on a minute. I'm going to...
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a painter, and so I haven't really run into the about it. Is you get to take the cost of the frame off before it's divided. So, I just think it's something that you negotiate with them.
And they doing that with framing or
Hold on,
gallery.
we're losing your audio. You all.
They're losing everything. Yeah.
Okay, you're unmuted.
Better?
That's better. So say that last bit again.
Oh, well, forget it. It's okay.
Yeah, we're having.
I agree with Julia, but I have other gals.
You've frozen.
Suspended in time.
Yes. It must be your Wi-Fi connection. Either that or she's holding her breath.
That's,
Okay.
Framers.
If it's going in and out, forget it.
Yeah,
that seems quite excessive. That they'd make $230 on an unframed painting, but they make 650 on a framed one. But you're only still taking a 270, 237. It seems like a very uneven split there.
It's interesting how the more people that get involved, the higher the selling price is to the end purchaser, but the artist still doesn't get any extra money from that.
Yeah.
Rachel, are you considering perhaps framing your own items?
Well, I do if it's not a gallery that does the framing. So this particular gallery, they're a framing gallery, so they mainly do the framing, and they like to make a lot of money off of it. It's kind of their perk.
I see. So,
but the other galleries that I'm with, they don't want to finagle like, oh, that's the framing cost. You can get that frame is, and we'll discount it from or take it off of the. Like they just want to split it 50-50.
Which is the normal arrangement, right? I mean, that's.
I don't know. I mean, Julia's saying no. The normal might be where you just take it off of the. You have to take off the frame costs. You get whatever your frame costs.
Work, not of the frame. There's no reason they should get any money for the frame. So. Unless they did it like the framing gallery.
Well, what they are saying to me, these other galleries, is just jack up the price enough to cover your frame. So you're making your frame costs.
Well, sure, but they're still getting some of it.
Oh, they will be getting.
Yeah, and then when you've jacked your price up, does that make it less likely to sell, or
I don't know.
Yeah, they shouldn't get a percentage of the frame.
Okay.
And who decides what the frame is, what the material is, and what it looks like? Is that your decision, or is it up to the gallery?
They sometimes, if I'm there, will ask me my input on which one I prefer. But if they're framing it themselves, because I don't want to, if it's a framing gallery that I'm with, and I don't want to. The way it works is I bring my work to them, and if it's unframed, they can choose to frame it and show it. Or they keep it unframed and store it away, and they use that to show clients who want to see more art. Lots of times they do decide to frame it because they want to show it.
I see.
I'm moving away from framed art because of all of this, because I think it's too complicated. So I'm just mainly doing canvas work now, but it's still a problem.
Does that mean you can charge less for it, or is the price point the same?
Well, think about, like, if an artist is painting with canvas, they don't say, I need $300 or $200 for my canvas costs. They don't do that. They just put the price at a single price and cut it in half.
Right.
So I kind of treat it like that. The problem is that framing, if you have to do glass and matte and all of that, that's very, very expensive.
Right.
thankfully, I don't usually have to do too much with glass.
And
It's much
part of the art or your materials, you know. So
it's a lot easier to ship if it isn't framed. Perhaps that could open up an internet market for you if you're able to create a shipping format that can ship your things fairly cheaply, unframed. Then you can sell your items saying it's this price using your own frame.
Well, see, that's beautiful, and I agree it would make shipping easy. The problem is that if I was actually to frame my own art and sell it myself, I could make an exponential amount more because it's framed. You can put the price up so much higher.
Higher than the frame.
That's how galleries make their money, is by framing art and making it so expensive.
So you're becoming kind of in the framing business.
I don't want to be.
Yeah, it takes some of your other creative time away, unless you really like framing. I mean,
No.
The problem here is, Rachel, you're the one with the most gallery experience of all of us, so we really can't help you solve this dilemma.
Stephanie's writing something. I haven't been able to read it yet. But no, most galleries want my work framed. Bottom line is, yes, yeah, it sells.
Without a frame.
Stephanie's trying to talk.
Oh.
Sorry. I mean, as long as you're getting paid the bottom line of what you want to recoup from the image, do you know what I, like, that's what I was wondering. Like, if you're getting what you're happy with. But I know what you mean. I years ago, when I was still very, very green, I sold a bunch of artwork to somebody, and with the understanding that she was going to mark it up 100%. She marked it up 3 times, and I was like, okay, you know what I mean? And it's kind of vindictive, but I was happy to see she didn't move the work for a long time because she had totally outpriced my work for what, and so it didn't make me look good. You know, and I was very frustrated, but I wasn't clear with her, like, we have an agreement and this is what, you know, I'm getting and this is what you're charging. Not that I could control what she was charging, but so that I had a little control over what I looked like. Do you know what I mean? Like how I represented. So that's all I wanted to say.
Octavio, do you have some comment about this?
No, not at the moment, because I don't have until now the problem with framing. I little experience with galleries too. I remember once Paul says to Rachel, you have to put the price with the galleries, and then that price you have to put the price of the framing.
That's what you've heard of?
That's what I heard from Paul. You got your part of the piece. The galleries has the other, and on that price on the price of the framing. Hello.
Hello.
We're left speechless.
Oh, I couldn't understand everything.
Yeah, we lost a lot of that.
Yeah. Okay. I will write it.
Okay. Well,
okay.
You had some comments, Octavio, about the issue of pricing and the split with galleries. We were talking last week about discount for friends, family, and people who ask for them, and a strategy for being prepared with those prices. Now, if you're selling work directly, you don't normally sell it framed. You let the customer frame it, right? So isn't it a good practice to just build your pricing model around whether it's framed or not, and have that pre-established? for various kinds of customers?
Well, about the price of the framing, and that's one subject, okay? And about the price for the friends, that's the other question.
Yes, that's another question, but it also could involve the whether it's framed or not.
Well, I don't know what to say about the framing. What I think is the frame is not in the total price. Hello?
Say that last bit again, Octavio. We lost you.
Yes, I have a little confusion here about the subjects because we're talking about framing, but we have mentioned about the price for the friends, about doing direct sales.
And what I'm saying is that everybody has to have a policy of prices for various kinds of customers, whether they're galleries, friends, or whoever is buying from you, whether it's a direct customer or an indirect customer, and that thinking these issues through and creating a price list in advance would help avoid the dilemma on the spot, or to so that it helps in your negotiation.
Yeah, well, when we were talking about the Leslie Fry's event, and she said she was uncomfortable doing sales to her friends, what I think is you have to be prepared in advance, and you have to know how discount you're going to do to your friends.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
Because if you have a certain kind of prices, you have some, you know how much your work worth. If you know the value of your work, it's easily to know how many money you can discount for your friends. If you have these numbers on your mind before,
you have to have that clear definition of what the bottom line is for the work of art. Everything is
for your friends and for your customers too.
Darcy, did you run into this issue at the trade show? Did you discuss prices at all? And if so, how did you arrive at it?
I was I had retail pricing on my work, and I explained that with designers that the wholesale price would allow them to mark it up. We didn't get into a lot of detail, but most everybody thought my prices were reasonable, and they were bumped up a little bit from my Boise gallery prices. And yeah, I think I probably could have done that more effectively than what I did. But what I did was I just labeled each piece like it was in a gallery, name of the piece, size, price, artist name, and kind of kept it simple. And again, I think because people didn't go to the expo with the intention of buying a piece of art, nobody was looking really carefully at the pricing. It was more of a glance. So yeah, you know, there were some lessons there, and for me, I probably should have spent a little more time dialing that in and being able to have that conversation smoothly and comfortably. There was probably some stammering that went on when people were asking about pricing.
Rachel, when you give a piece over to your gallery, this gallery that is the framing gallery, is it on consignment, or are they buying it from you? Are you there, Rachel?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. If I give them an unframed work and they decide they want to frame it to show it.
Yep.
And it doesn't sell. They'll say 3 or 6 months down the road, do you want to buy it? We'll give you the wholesale price for the frame, or we'll take it out.
And how do you react at that point?
Sometimes I really like the frame, and I'm happy to pay the wholesale price for it, which is like 50. It's 50% off.
Yeah.
And they don't charge me for their framing work either, so it's just for the frame. So it's really a great
So
deal.
you go from being the supplier to the customer. That's interesting.
Yeah. But I don't have to. I can say, no, take it out, because it was their choice in the beginning.
I see.
I just dropped off about 30 pieces to a brand new gallery in Ohio this weekend. And a number of them were a little bit older, and so a lot of them were in frames. And I didn't want to deal with asking her if she wants to do the frame discount with me, like I get the frame cost when it sells and blah, blah, blah. So I just put it at a price that the gallery that framed it originally had it at, and we'll split it 50-50 and I'll be happy. And I think Stephanie's right. I'm happy to sell it, and it's still selling at a great price. And I don't want to get too worried about it. I just wanted to know if there was a right or a wrong. And it sounds like people aren't quite sure, but so.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway here, is that it's very dependent on the context of the situation. Okay. Well, it's already 9:05.
Yeah, I had a thought here. I was wondering what Amy is up to down there. It looks like, yes, it looks like Amy is working during our meeting.
I'm going to unmute Amy. We'll ask her.
What are those discs that you're painting?
This is a new series that I'm working on, and even though my shows aren't until fall, I'm like, pressure. So I'm just doing mindless.
Day and night she works.
So I'm totally listening. I'm here. I'm present. But
no, I'm impressed with your dedication.
That's interesting, because I think we've lost Russell a couple of times already. So.
I can show a couple real quick. So they start out like a wood panel, and then I add my paint, and then.
Oh yeah, nice.
So.
They're all hand painted. Each one is unique.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. So, and then I'm playing with glitter.
Yeah, I like glitter. Glitter in shirts is good too, if you can find glitter in shirts. But no, that's terrific dedication. Real interesting things.
When is your next?
I just got another 20 panels today, so that's why I'm like, woo!
Mass production.
Whether I get on, because I was like, if I can paint, I can do both.
Will those be framed in the end, or
no? That's what's so fabulous about them. So they're solid on the outside, so you can just hang them on the thumbtack or whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But you can manipulate them. That's one of the reasons I'm going this route, is because I don't want to deal with framing anymore, and I'm getting tired of getting canvas paintings back from shows and having them all warped out of shape, and just worrying about the wear and tear on everything. So.
Or you could make things out of concrete like Russ does. So.
Then there's shipping costs. So,
I do want to ask Russ about his experience with his show. Can you tell us how that went?
Yeah. I mean, it went okay. It covered costs, so that was good. The smaller stuff, the little vegetables and things, they sold quite well. Sold a lot of letters, but the larger concrete cores, the abstract kind of concrete stuff, a lot of interest, but no sales on that.
How many people did you get walking through the space, through the gallery or the
It's only a very small gallery, and it's newly established. So I think there was 67 on the opening night, and probably another 40 the following week. So it was okay for what it was. It was I didn't expect much more than that.
And was there any other benefit to doing it? Did you got press or publicity?
It was very much like Darcy. They got plenty of stock now. So that some decent photographs. It forced me to finish a few pieces off, and just the experience was well worth doing. And I look forward to doing the next one.
Great, congratulations!
That's
quite an achievement. So,
thank you.
So now it is well after 9 o'clock, and does anybody have any announcements of upcoming shows or events? And if you don't have them now, Julia, yes.
Just wanted to tell everyone that I had the good fortune of meeting Mark last week in New York, and it was lots of fun.
Yeah, we had a lovely afternoon. We had lunch, and I met 2 artist friends of Julia's, Jerry Barish and Nancy Russell, a sculptor and a painter. And then we took a walk over to the Whitney and spent a couple of hours looking at American art there. It was a really beautiful day.
It was great.
Very nice.
So next time you can all come.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be fun. I had my first art fair, so that went pretty well.
Oh, tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, it's similar to Darcy's experience, but on a smaller scale. a lot of effort. I don't know how many of you have done art fairs, but it was a good experience, like Darcy said, but a lot of putting out. I was very grateful because I got a purchase award, so that was nice. But that was the only thing I sold. So it was nice to get a nice purchase award, but hard to read a crowd and know. I mean, there weren't really a lot of buyers at all at the art fair overall. So.
And tell us who organized the art fair and how were you a part of it?
A friend of mine let me know about the art fair, and it's in Bob's old neck of the woods. It was in Schaumburg at the Prairie Arts Center, and it actually was a very reasonable one to participate in, so that was appealing. And it was a 2-day event. The weather was gorgeous one day and terrible the next day, and met some really nice fellow vendors and got some information, but it was good. It was good to get out there, and hopefully, just like Darcy, some people came through and took my cards, but it was really hard for me to grab their cards, or information from people. They didn't want to put their names down. Nobody wants to give out their emails anymore. So I think I need to put some bait up for emails next time, like, I'll give a prize if you put your name down, But anyway, it was overall a good experience, but it is an investment.
How many pieces did you have physically present?
I had too many pieces. I brought 30 and probably put out 15 to 20. So I had too much work. So that some of it ended up just getting packed back up. But it was, had it gone gangbusters, I would have been well prepared, I guess. Anyway.
It's difficult to know in advance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a wild guess.
But thanks to everybody in this group, because all of the conversations made it easier to go also. I felt more prepared because of all the talk that we have in our group. So thank you.
Well, that's great. Congratulations on that. And you'll be better prepared for the next show. Do you know when that will be?
I'm working on one of the vendors that I worked with was really supportive, and she said, well, you're a painter. And actually, there aren't a lot of painters at these art fairs. there's a lot of photographers, jewelers, you know, stained glass, glasswork, that kind of stuff. So she said, I made 4 calls today to art fairs coming up this summer and fall to try to get in the back door if somebody cancels and see if I can get in. So
great.
That's the goal.
It gives you a target.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Rachel.
So it's kind of ties in. A while ago, I talked about that new gallery that's doing a little differently, where it's a nonprofit, so it's their way of getting people to give money, but they're buying artwork in a sense for the gallery, and it turned out that it worked. I mean, so far they bought. It's exciting because I went there and delivered the pieces, and they bought 2 large ones because they were sponsored. So it's an interesting new thing. I've never heard of such a thing. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Julia, you have your hand up.
Oh, I don't think I do.
Oh, you don't now, but you did.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Well, this has been very edifying and terrific. Good to see you all again. I think we should wrap it up. It's 9:15 now. And keep me informed about happenings in your neck of the woods. And I'll add it to the agenda for next week.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Sorry, just 2 seconds. I just wanted to point out to everybody that I threw a link in the chat. I've started a weird little side project where I'm doing a TV show in a local access channel, and the first episode is live. So if you guys get a chance, I'd love to get feedback from you.
Cool.
But we can go. So we can talk about that another time if anybody has any feedback.
When does that take place?
Whenever I want it to. I'm not getting paid, so I'm trying to just do 1 a month.
That's me. Sorry, that's your site.
Yeah. So yeah, but I just wanted to interject that so that people saw.
I'm playing the same thing here.
Yeah. We just get an orchestra going.
It's spreading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys for checking out.
Thanks everybody.
Okay, thanks everybody. And see you next time.
See ya. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Okay.
And Alibaba.
Alibaba.
Abyssinia.
Abyssinia.